So the first quarter of this preseason game was an absolute movie. We got our first taste of Jaden Daniels in 2025, and we got a Bill Krosky Merritt touchdown off the early, and then the backups invitational bowl ensued after that. But let's talk about it. What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about our Washington Commanders. Washington lost another preseason game. Whoop-de freaking do. But the first quarter was worth the price of admission. After the first quarter, it got kind of nasty. But here we are. I don't care that we're 0-2 in free agents in preseason. Let's start with the good and let's start with the fun. So, going into this game, the conversation was around a couple things. First of all, Brian Robinson, who's being shopped league wide right now with an inevitable release or trade coming very soon, did not play. So, the main idea of this game was, is Bill going to be the starting running back now? What's Washington's running game going to look like? Also, what's Jaden going to look like, and how long is he going to play behind an offensive line with 3 starters out? And Washington got right to fucking business when the game started. So they got right to it on the offensive side. So the Bengals got the ball first. Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense made it look relatively easy for the most part. We did get him to a couple third and fourth downs. We bailed him out on fourth down with a Frankie Louvu offsides, and Noah Igbenogany committed some type of pass interference that set him up inside the 10-yard line, which set up their first point. But they scored a touchdown. Joe Burrow looked like Joe Burrow, 3 for 3, 3 touchdowns in the preseason so far. And then Washington touched the football for the first time. Washington touched the football for the first time and got right to business. We scored on 4 plays, and Jaden did not have to drop back and pass the ball one time. First play of the game, Clifford Timothy Kingsbury gets right into his bag. No more hiding from the world what Deebo Samuels is in this offense. Deebo Samuel, God damn it, I put that S on the end of his name again. You know I hate that shit. Deebo Samuel, jet sweep for 19 yards on the first play of the game. They've been having that boy do all the vertical stretch the field, wide receivery things all camp. What's his first touch as a Washington Commander? Give him a home carry, jet sweep, something he's comfortable with, and make somebody on the Cincinnati Bengals hot dog water ass defense have to make the business decision of tackling the tank that is Deebo Samuel. He hit the corner very fast, very hard. And that boy's in tremendous shape. He looks explosive as hell. Next play, Christopher Rodriguez has a good carry. Then he takes a 42-yard carry up the right sideline and puts us in scoring position. Jaden then takes his first passing attempt of the game. Does he pass? No, he doesn't. He shifts. He looks. He makes a move. He gets skinny. And he takes it 14 yards into the end zone. They asked him, but Jaden, why didn't you go down? It's a preseason game. And he said, I wanted to score because he's a fucking baller. That's why he didn't go down, because he loves the end zone and he's going to get there quite a few times in 2025. And I went crazy. After the Jaden touchdown, spiking the football like I don't live in an apartment. I'm running around the living room just because it's that exciting when Jaden Daniels is on the football field. So to see him back out there and doing his shit again, very good time. Next time we touched the ball, second possession on defense, we had Joe Burrow running for his absolute life. But second time we touched the ball, Jaden's obviously out. But in comes Bill Krosky Merritt. He wants to be called Bill, not Jacory. He was bald and big-headed as a kid. They said he looked like Little Bill, the cartoon. Bill Krosky Merritt gets a first carry. Nice little chunk play for over 10 yards. Second carry takes it 27 yards to the crib for a touchdown, and sprinkled in between were a couple Jalen Lane first down completions. Josh Johnson and the run game had the offense moving. 14 quick points. The first quarter was an absolute dream. We got to see our future RB1 and our quarterback make plays, and Jaden was never put in harm's way. He was never touched tonight. He got to go to the locker room and take off his shoulder pads and flex his grill and his triple choker Cuban link chain. Diamonds was dancing all over that sideline tonight. Zach Ertz had some shit on. Debo's shit was dancing. Them VVs are different on that side, but that's all we really seen out of relevant players. Interesting subtopic of tonight's game. For whatever reason it is that I don't know yet, I have not watched Dan Quinn speak to the media. Maybe I'll scroll the timeline right now. Rookie second rounder Trey Amos, who's been one of Washington's best players at camp so far, he didn't play tonight. Like, he didn't play at all. Like, he was a scratch from the game tonight. That's very interesting to me. That is very interesting to me. I hope it's just they're holding him out. He's probably been our best corner. Him and Mikey competing for that at camp so far. Maybe they feel so comfortable with the consistency that they've seen in practice so far that they didn't need to see him tonight. I wanted them to run the ones with Jamar. I wanted to see him run around with $40 million man Jamar Chase, but it's all good because, you know, I'm sick of seeing him get bump in practice from guys like Chris Moore and Michael Strand and KJ Osborne. But hopefully Trey Amos is good. We need some explanation on that. Great game from Jacob Martin. Had 4 pressures, 3 hurries, a quarterback hit, and a half a sack. And he has some burst and some explosion coming off the edge. After we talk about guys like Von Miller and Dorrance and company, Jacob Martin has the best bend on this football team. More Jacob Martin and less Cleveland Farrell for me personally. And then the first quarter of this game ended, and it was an absolute shit show till the end. Mitchell Tinsley, former August legend here for the Washington Commanders, head top dunked on 2 Washington Commanders DBs. Bobby Price and Carlin Vigors put testicles on their back and grabbed touchdowns full extendo style over both of them. He had a hell of a second quarter. He looks good. If Washington can't find a wide receiver 6, they may have to circle the block if he doesn't make the roster in Cincinnati. But there is not much more. Too much that we need to get deep into. Sam Hartman, since cutting his hair, looks terrible. That's not a rosterable player at this point. And Josh Johnson they both had nasty turnovers. Josh Johnson forced an interception to Jalen Lane for no reason. Jalen Lane flashed. Let's stick with the good. Jalen Lane had like 3 catches for 42 yards, 14 yards a catch. That's the type of shit we need. Someone put it perfectly in the chat earlier. Jalen Lane is just going to pop up and make random ass plays for us. That's what we need him to do. I need him to be young Jamison Crowder on a jetpack. 4-3-1 version of young Jamison Crowder. Keep your feet on punt returns and make some shit shake out there and just get open and catch the ball because 5 is going to deliver it to you. And it's going to be very easy. So seeing some of our young guys shine, like Jalen Lane, Bill Krosky Merritt, Chris Rodriguez Jr., especially the running backs, considering a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with the condition of the running back room after Brian Robinson's inevitable release, or maybe a trade. Maybe someone offers us a soda and a bag of chips, crab chips for him. But the running game looked tremendous. We ran for about 200 yards tonight. I'm not sure why we kept Bill Krosky Merritt in behind the Uber driver offensive line, but you know, obviously the numbers took a dip because every carry he was getting, he was being met in the backfield because the Bama's can't block. But maybe considering that he didn't play college football other than 1 game last year, they need to get him up to speed with an NFL workload. I imagine it's going to be committee style, but at some point he's going to be the primary ball getter in the backfield. Shit, it could be Chris Rodriguez early, but Tonight was proof that nobody needs to worry about the running game. The combination of C Rod and Jeremy McNichols as backs 3 and 4, they can do what Brian Robinson did for this team. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt has a skill set that none of the other 3 guys in the room has. And behind our starting offensive line and with Jaden Daniels at quarterback, terrifying defenses with what he can do with his arm and his legs, there will be a mini opportunity like tonight. On the Bill Krosky Merritt touchdown, Andrew Wiley pulls across, sets the edge, and John Bates is blocking 2 people on the play. It was a thing of beauty. It looked very easy. Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag. Here's the problem with the rest of the game. Cliff Kingsbury can be as much as an offensive savant as he wants to. You can't do anything about bad quarterback play. And that's why we don't need to really concern ourselves and spend 5 to 10 minutes ever talking about the emergency quarterback. The emergency quarterback does not count as a roster spot necessarily on Sundays. So you don't even have to activate the player. So it's not going to be Sam Hartman now. I know Jaden Daniels loves him. He's the Mr. Morale handshake guy in the locker room. But yeah, that looks like a DC defender. That looks like a Calvin Klein model. Mr. GQ. Somebody in the chat said maybe he's handing out roses on The Bachelor. That's not good enough to be rostered in the NFL. And I don't even know if you need to use a practice squad spot on Sam Hartman at this point. Not trying to be overly harsh, but he looks fucking awful. He looked bad. Josh Johnson looks better, but it's not like he looked good either. But good thing we don't really have to talk about the third quarterback on this team because our starting quarterback and our backup are more than solidified at those positions. But Jacob Martin showed me something tonight. Quan Martin looked very active with the starting unit. Quan Martin and Will Harris were bringing the boom. They were coming downhill. Yes, we got scored on. It's Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow. We committed some stupid penalties. Dietrich Wise had a stupid penalty. He also had a penalty that shouldn't have been called a penalty, but he also should have sacked Joe Burrow. Washington still refuses to recover fumbles. We don't like nice things or catch interceptions when they're thrown to us, but we don't need to sit here and be concerned about anything happening on a preseason other than the first quarter of this game where we actually saw our starting quarterback go out there for a drive. So Jaden bringing any momentum from 2024 into 2025 takes the offense right down the field. He didn't have to do anything. The run game looked good. The scab offensive line looked good. Chris Paul was bullying Bamas. Chris Paul was moving guys out there. According to my brother Jalen, who was at the game, bleeding B&G. What up, gang? Luke McCaffrey was dogging his guy out there, but there was nothing he could do about it because he's got health teachers throwing him the football. Those were his exact words. But we couldn't really fairly gauge wide receivers not named Jalen Lane or tight ends tonight because our quarterback 3 and 4 are pretty abysmal and they forced some bad turnovers and there were a few other turnover worthy plays. Either that or they were running for their life because the 4th and 5th string line was not getting it done. We don't need to go too much deeper into this one. It was nice seeing Jaden get back into the end zone, get used to it. He's going to be there a lot this year. MVP season loading for number 5. Deebo Samuel looked the part. I'll just close with this. Terry McLaurin, I understand the contract saga going on here. Jaden said in his interview on the sideline, I expect to see my guy back out there soon. Soon in a great perfect world means extension, but it could also mean you're now activated off the pup. We need you in game shape by week 1 because you're not going to hold out. Who are we kidding here? But Terry, you could have showed up with the team. I'm not tripping off it. I'm not judging Terry for not. Handle your business. But Trey Hendrickson's big buff Michelin man jock varsity jacket head ass was at the game tonight, and he's in a similar situation. And he's a better football player at the position he plays than you. But I ain't gonna hold Terry accountable for that. I ain't gonna get on Terry too hard for that. I ain't gonna rag on him. He wasn't there. B-Rob wasn't there. B-Rob's a different story. B-Rob is not on the roster. He's either getting cut or getting traded traded for something very, very low. Stop lying to yourself and thinking Washington could get a fourth or fifth round pick. They probably won't even get a sixth. If we can get a seventh round pick for Brian Robinson, you jump on that right now. San Francisco, hit my line. Hit my line. We got our first somewhat taste of the starters tonight. We saw a little bit of Javon Kinlaw, mountain of a man. He was getting push when he was in, but I wish on the goal line we got a little bit more push up front. Didn't really tell too much from the linebackers other than Foho. Forgot his name. The rookie undrafted linebacker. He was looking pretty active out there tonight. Robert McDaniels made a couple plays that stood out. Had a chance to catch an Odell style wicked ass interception late in the game, but we don't like nice things, so we don't catch that. But you're not going to get a real read or anything substantial from a preseason game. Joe Burrow played a lot more than they had Joe Burrow out there moving like he's a rookie quarterback. I was kind of uncomfortable with how much Cincinnati had him playing, especially because we were getting constant pressure on the guy. Love to see that. Means we're playing a quarterback that's not the most mobile guy in the world. We're going to get to him. We had Joe Burrow running in fucking circles like he was lost in the Matrix running from Agent Smith. So we're clearly doing something right on that side. But we're going to wrap this one up. 31-17 Washington, 0-2 in preseason. Don't care about any of that. It was all about the JD5 and Bill show. Early, Bill, C-Rod, and Jaden Daniels and Deebo Samuels passed the early test and the rushing game, and Cliff Kingsbury's offense looks like it's primed to get right back to the motherfucking business in year one. You can't really judge anything without Jaden being on the field. And when he's been on the field, we went and scored immediately. So there's that. That's all I got from preseason game number 2. I went live for 4.5 hours. If you want to see any of my reactions from the game, I will clip those up and have some videos dropped. And we're going to talk about it more on Commanders Kings tomorrow. And speaking of Commanders Kings, get those Commanders Kings live event tickets. We're under 15 tickets left for the show. August 24th, Crystal City Sports Pub, me, Louis T, and Oliver Street Scores. That's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. JD5 for MVP, Bill Krosky Merritt for president, C-Rod for running mate. On we push, on to the preseason finale and a short week here in DC.